Hello, this is Todd Luck, and this is a review of the Land That Time Forgot miniseries from American Mythology. This is a new reprint of the 1975 Marvel movie premiere, The Land That Time Forgot movie adaptation. So this was, again, published in 1975. Originally, this came out as a black and white magazine. So Savage Sword had recently launched and it was huge, so Marvel decided to do this adaptation of the Land That Time Forgot movie as a black and white comic. And you know, I gotta say, as someone with some Savage Swords from back in the day, it's really cool to see this stuff in black and white. It's just it's a real treat in this day and age because we just don't get that much. You know, color is just so much cheaper to print, so it's just kind of awesome. I'm sorry, I was so excited by the black and white artwork, I got ahead of myself. So anyway, this is a recently released reprints. This has come out in the last couple months. This is the cover of the first issue. If you want your comic shop to order this or you're looking for it online, look up The Land That Time Forgot 1975. That's what you're going to find it solicited as. So Land That Time Forgot 1975, which of course is the year that the movie released. And so this is the cover, and this is the cover off of the original movie adaptation, which looks gorgeous. I love this, and this is a very awesome reproduction of this cover. The differences here is, like, up top on the original cover it said, Marvel movie premiere, and then in the corner they have corner boxes back in the day where they would have a character from the comic in the corner box, and so the character that was in this corner box was a T-Rex, which is just awesome. But I love this cover. So for the second cover, obviously it was just a one-issue movie adaptation, so there was nothing to do from the original work for the cover. So this is an original Mike Wolfer cover for the second issue, and it's not as good. I wish it was painted, just for consistency's sake, and obviously, with a movie adaptation, especially if you're a movie that is adapting an Edgar Rice Burroughs fantasy novel, painted covers would be super appropriate. That being said, Mike Wolfer does a good job with this. I love the sunset in the background. Whoever did the coloring, that's a really beautiful sunset. So awesome. And as you can tell from earlier, I'm totally down with old school black and white artwork. So yeah, the artwork is just really nice looking and I really like it. So let's talk about it as an adaptation. So there are a lot of differences between the comic adaptation and the movie. So the characters look completely different. There's no attempt to capture the likenesses that I could tell. And there were a lot of different dialogue in the movie adaptation. There are some bits of dialogue from the movie, but most of it seemed to be different. And there are some different kind of scenes added. The most major change, well, first of all, the female character's name is changed. She had Liz LaRue, which is the character from the comic, is actually the name used in the movie adaptation. In the movie it's changed and she's like Lisa Clayton or something. That's kind of interesting in and of itself, because that's very unusual for a movie adaptation to actually use a completely different name for a main character in the movie. But there's also a bit added in that the German captain of the submarine that shoots down their ship at the beginning is actually the ex-husband of Liz LaRue. And that's a very different sort of relationship than we saw. But there's some scenes in the movie that don't necessarily make a lot of sense. But reading them with the extra scenes put in there because of that plot point added in the movie adaptation actually make them make sense. And I'm thinking specifically, there's a scene in there where the Germans have captured Bowen Tyler and his crew and are holding them hostage. But for some reason, Liz is allowed to walk around the submarine free, even though she should be a captive like the rest of them, and she helps the others escape. And so that makes sense in the movie adaptation because, he's treating her differently because of, he used to love her. So I don't know. My assumption is, and this happens with a lot of movie adaptations, is that they were working on an older version of the script that hadn't been refined and, redone for what they shot. And who knows, maybe some of these scenes were shot. You never know. But, it was not what we ended up with on screen. And so that's very common with movie adaptations. You usually get little scenes here and there that were not in the movie because they're working on an older version of the story. But this is like way different. There's a few differences. Now, all your major plot points are there. All the different action beats and stuff are there. It follows it blow by blow exactly. And it's a very dense comic, and it really does get all the movie in there. Now, all that being said, again, I think it's interesting even with the changes because it gives you an insight into what the movie could have been. I think that's part of the fun of old movie adaptations like this. But all that being said, that was not the only thing in the movie adaptation. It wasn't just a comic of the movie itself. The way Marvel used to do these old specials, this is the one they did of Blade Runner. Yes, you would get the comic adaptation of the movie, and it would be great. You get like this, these artists who could draw really realistically and, do these really beautiful renditions of the movie. But what you would also get is you would get photos in the back. And so you would get all these special features in the back, and it was just really neat. And so the Land That Time Forgot Marvel movie premiere had all that in the back. There were photos from the movie, and there was an article by Lynn Carter about like lost lands and fantasy novels and stuff, which is really intriguing. And so my recommendation, if you're trying to save money or you just want a version of this that fits in your comic book, go ahead and get this. $4 a pop, well worth it. But if you want the complete experience, I recommend just going on eBay, dishing out a few dollars more. It's probably going to set you back maybe $16, probably a little less, and get the original Marvel movie premiere version of this. It is well worth it. Again, you got the article, you got all these photos, and who knows, there could be some, cool ads in there, like the Blade Runner special I have has a application where you can send it away for the Blade Runner movie fan club, where you could get the Blade Runner newsletter. How awesome is that? I wish I could still do that. I would totally do that right now if it wasn't like 30 years later or whatever. So anyway, getting this 2-issue reprint really brought back memories about like what it was like to get old movie adaptations. And so that format where they had all the extras in the back tended to give way back by the 80s when they were adapting like Return of the Jedi or something like that. You would get like a mini series. It would be like 4 issues, and it would just be the comic book, which would be gorgeous. And they'd reprint it in something like this, a book like this. But it was just great. I mean, just beautifully done. I was really happy to own this as a child. And that just tended to be the way that they went. They kind of dropped the special features in the back. But just the movie adaptation itself was a treat. So this was the Batman, 1989 Batman, and I was floored to have this. This was just amazing. This is Jerry Ordway artwork. He just absolutely just nails both the movies and the likenesses. I mean, if you are a fan of that movie, This is just so worth getting. I mean, this is just such a great movie adaptation. Probably my favorite movie adaptation of all time. The 1989 Batman graphic novel movie adaptation. But you didn't necessarily have to have a likeness artist. You didn't necessarily have to do that for it to be an interesting adaptation. So, for instance, Topps Comics did a adaptation of the 1990s Bram Stoker Dracula movie, and actually had Mike Mignola, famous for Hellboy, actually did the artwork. So, like, you know, it doesn't look anything like the movie. It looks like a Mignola comic, but that's freaking awesome. And I kind of wish I owned it. I might hunt that down just to have the artwork in that. Speaking of movie adaptations with different looking artwork, this is the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles movie adaptation from the 1990s. And so this is done in this graphic novel, which is just gorgeous, and it's done by Eastman Laird and Jim Lawson, so it looks just like an old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles comic, which is just awesome. I mean, I cannot highly recommend this enough if you're a fan of the Turtles, and especially that first movie. This is just freaking awesome to see the movie adapted like a old Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle comic. Another interesting curiosity, this is the Masters of the Universe motion picture adaptation. And you'll notice none of these characters look anything like the motion picture, except maybe Gwildor right there. Because my guess would be they probably didn't have the character designs done when they were doing this adaptation. So they basically used the original figures for most of the characters, which especially gets weird with Tila because she's wearing this snake outfit that she's not wearing in most of the stories you'll see her in, whether it's the cartoon or the mini comics. This is actually the outfit for the goddess, and Tila, don't get me started on that. That's a whole nother video. But anyway, this is very interesting just to kind of see that same story told with, you know, the action figures as the models for, you know, what the characters look like. Just very interesting, you know, to kind of see it told that way. So the reason why I think I got like the movie adaptations when I was younger is because, you know, movies were a little different back then. When Batman, the 89 Batman came out, that was a huge, huge event. And it was just, you know, you really didn't get movies like that very often or ever. And it was just something you wanted to experience over and over again. You wanted to go back and read that comic and just experience it again because you just love that movie so much. And it wasn't just comics. There were trading cards like this 1989 Batman trading card set, complete with bubble gum, which I, of course, ate, but it came with sticks of bubble gum. So how awesome was that? There were storybooks, and the storybooks still come out with modern movies, thank goodness. You know, and these were always neat, and you can tell I love this one to death because I wore it out. This is taped together. This has been used so much, but they had these gorgeous pictures from the movie, and, you know, it was just so good. And of course, there were magazines that had the movie in it, and it would have, you know, pictures and a cover from the movie. And so you have to pick that up, right? And of course, along with just magazines that featured it, you could get the official souvenir magazine of the movie. I think this may be the only one I own, but there have been plenty of these put out for various movies, and I still see them put out for modern movies as well. But one thing that is a relic of the past, like I was lamenting with Blade Runner, the fan clubs. This is the official newsletter of the Lucasfilm fan club, Bantha Tracks, from back in the day. So this was really neat. You know, it would give you, you know, insights into, you know, how the movies were being made, and, you know, also offers for different, you know, photographs and patches and stuff you could send away for. So those were really neat. A lot of this stuff is just less emphasized because we have big movies like that coming out every month or so. So, you know, it's just not as big a deal when Star Wars comes out every year and there's, you know, 3 Marvel movies every year. You know, there's like 6 or 7 superhero movies every year. So it's just not as big of an event. And of course, print is no longer as emphasized as it is. You know, certainly there's still, you know, souvenir magazines and books being put out, but it's just not as big as it once was. And of course, online media has replaced a lot of this stuff. You know, fan clubs have been replaced by message boards and YouTube feeds and all this stuff. So, and I don't think that's better or worse. I just think it's different. I mean, I think there's a lot of things you can do with that you couldn't do back in the day. And there's a lot of things that were really cool back in the day that, you know, I wouldn't mind seeing again. So I think it's not bad, it's not good, it's just different. And so that's it. That is my review of The Land of Time Forgotten, 1975, and a little look down memory lane about old movie adaptations in comic books. And let me know, you know, do you miss, you know, having, you know, a comic book movie adaptation of all the movies? Did you have some movie adaptations that you loved when you were a kid? Was there old, like, you know, things that they put out for movies that you miss, you know, the cards and the newsletters and stuff? Just let me know in the comments below. I've done a review of, I think, pretty much all the Edgar Rice Burroughs stuff American Mythology has put out, as well as the Edgar Rice Burroughs toy line from Trend Masters back in the 90s, so you can check those out. I have more reviews coming. Hopefully that Moon Maid issue 3 will get to me very soon. The order got canceled on that or something, and so they had to reorder it. So I should be getting that very soon and doing that review. So like and subscribe for more videos, and until next time, see ya.